We interviewed Andy Unruh, inventor of the Amazonica. So, what makes the Amazonica special?
In the past, instruments have either been versatile or easy to play. I think the Amazonica is the first instrument that is both very versatile and at the same time easy to play. Additionally, it's inexpensive and it's portable.
What do you mean by versatile?
Well, what I mean by versatile is that you can play both melodies and chords on it. For example, a flute is great for playing melodies, but you can't play chords on a flute. Guitars and pianos, on the other hand, can play both melodies and chords, but they have a very steep learning curve.
So, how's the Amazonica easier to play than the guitar or the piano?
So the first thing a beginner will notice is how easy the chords are to play on an Amazonica. Let me contrast that to what happens on a guitar. Very classic chord progression in guitar is the 1-4-5. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. So if we're playing in E major, and it doesn't matter if you know what that means, an E chord on guitar is fingered like this and strummed on all 6 strings. An A chord is fingered differently, like this, and strummed on only 5 strings. And then a B chord, which is a very difficult chord to finger, it's technically known as a double bar chord, is fingered like this and also strummed on 5 strings. And the thing is that since there are 12 notes in a chromatic scale, you have to learn 12 major chords, you have to learn 12 minor chords, you have to learn 12 diminished chords. Then as you get more advanced, you're going to learn 12 augmented chords, 12 sus4 chords, 12 sus2 chords. It's so ridiculous that they have entire books that are like an inch thick that are nothing but chord after chord after chord and how to play them on guitar. We can contrast that with the Amazonica. So I'm going to play the same 3 chords I played on guitar. The E chord is simply this. The A chord is here. And that B chord that I played that was so hard on the guitar, it's just this.
Wait, are you telling me the Amazonica makes all of these chords easy to play? How do you do that?
Well, anybody who studied piano knows that the easiest scale and key to play in piano is a C major. That's because it uses only the white keys and all the chords are very easy to finger. What I do on the Amazonica, essentially, is I turn every scale and every key into C major on the Amazonica. So the chords never change positions. For every scale, there are always 7 chords, and those 7 chords are always in the same place on the Amazonica. Whereas on guitar or piano, they look different and they're all over either the keyboard or the fretboard.
How do you do that then? Making playing in every key and every scale easy.
I do it by making the Amazonica configurable. So, unlike a piano or a guitar where the notes are in fixed positions, I allow you to put a particular note on each key. So if we're playing in a particular scale, for example, you'll put the first note of the scale here, the second here, the third here, the fourth here, etc. And it makes it so that all the chords are always in the same place. In other words, it's almost as if you took a piano and you said, oh, I'm playing in this key and this scale, and you had a piano tuner come in and retune the piano just so that it can be easy to play for you.
Isn't that a little bit like a harmonica?
Actually, it is. It's a lot like a harmonica with one major difference. Harmonicas are made to play in only one key and one scale. So you might buy a C major harmonica. But if you want to be able to play in all the keys in the major, you need to buy 12 different harmonicas. Then you need to buy 12 more for the minor key to play in minor. And then there are actually 7 different modes in the Western scale. So that would be 84 harmonicas, but that doesn't cover the harmonic minor scales, which would be 84. And then if you want to play in the Arabic scale, or you want to play in the Hungarian scale or the Gypsy scale, you'd end up buying hundreds, maybe even 1,000 different harmonicas to cover what one Amazonica can cover. And it's worse than that, because generally harmonicas aren't even available. You can't buy a harmonica, for example, that's in Mixolydian mode, which is a really popular mode to play in popular music.
That sounds awesome. What about more serious players? Do you offer anything for them?
Actually I do. One of the things that's most fun for guitar players is to pop on a jam track. And what a jam track is, it's just a chord progression that you can listen to on, for example, YouTube. And there are thousands, probably tens of thousands of these available in different keys and different scales, at different tempos, with different rhythms, and you just jam along to them. The thing is, if you're playing in Mixolydian, you have to learn the Mixolydian pattern on the guitar. And that pattern changes depending on which string you start on. So if you start on the 6th string, it's one pattern. You start on the 5th string, it's another pattern. You start on the 4th one, it's another pattern. And these patterns are actually really complicated to memorize. And people spend years and years memorizing these things. The result is that even for most intermediate or even advanced players, they may only know 1 or 2 patterns. For example, a blues player, and in fact, this is why a lot of people only play the blues, they only know the minor pentatonic scale. But with the Amazonica, because you put the correct notes in the correct places, it's as easy to play in one scale or one key as another scale. They're all the same. So, for example, this one is in the key of E major. And so the scale is very simple. It's just... Now, I like to play in harmonic minor. And so I loaded this up with A harmonic minor, and you'll hear the difference. But the pattern is exactly the same.
Wow. Do you think the Amazonica could be a good instrument for music teachers trying to teach music to children?
Yeah, actually, I think it would be ideal for 2 reasons, really. A lot of kids hate taking music lessons. You got to drag the kids to these piano lessons, and they're going to try to find all kinds of excuses as to why they can't go. And why is it that they don't like it? They don't like it because there's so much emphasis on technique and so much emphasis on memorization. And all they want to do is play music. And what the Amazonica lets you do is it reduces by like 95% the technique that you need. You don't need much technique to play the Amazonica, and you need almost no memorization. So it cuts through all that and lets the kids just have fun and play music. And the other reason it's really good is it intuitively teaches kids music theory. When they put the cartridges in the Amazonica, the cartridges are the things that actually make the tones, they learn just by putting them in what the patterns are for different scales. And then, for example, they can play, for example, Ode to Joy in a major scale, and then they could load up the Amazonica in a minor scale and play the exact same thing. And they hear right away what the difference between the major scale and minor scale is. These things become intuitive and are going to get into their blood right away. It's so much easier than studying books or listening to endless talks by music teachers.
Okay, one last question. Why did you invest all this time and effort into developing a musical instrument?
Well, I think when it comes down to it, playing music is storytelling. And unfortunately, to tell a good story until now has required mastering a really difficult instrument like guitar or like the violin or like the piano. And as you know, people are busier than ever. There's so much taking our attention away that people nowadays just don't have the time to learn these instruments. So what I wanted to do is create an instrument that let people tell their musical stories, but let them tell those stories without 10 or 20 years invested in learning a complicated instrument. Look, I'm never going to be a Gandhi. I'm never going to be a Martin Luther King. But this is something I can do to make the world just a little better place.
Okay. Thanks so much for sitting with us today and telling us about the Amazonica. I hope it catches on.
Yeah, I hope it does too. I think it's a good thing. If you want to learn more, just go to www.musicmadeeasy. That's all one word, and easy is spelled E-Z, just the letters. Thank you.
Thank you.